Hi, everyone. This is Tulio Siragusa with Dojo Live. Welcome to another show. Today is Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. And I have today with us my co-host, Marielle, who's joining us from Chihuahua, Mexico. Hi, Marielle. Welcome to the show. It's been a while since you've been on. Good to have you. And we have our guest today, who is Dave Jevans, who's the CEO and founder of Cyphertrease, which is a cryptocurrency company and blockchain company. We're looking to learn everything we can about what you're doing and what you're solving. But before we do that, please, Dave, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and let the audience get to know you a little bit.
Well, Tulio and Marielle, it's great to be with you today. I'm with you from California in the United States, so we're not terribly far apart. Cyphertrees is a company that operates in the cryptocurrency industry. We work with most of the major companies in the industry, as well as the banks and the governments. And our goal is to make cryptocurrency a product that everybody can use. Make it safe, make it easy, make it compliant, and bring that to the world. My background really is as a technologist. So I got a master's degree in computer science, really in Canada, which is where I learned French, and I'm still learning Spanish because I love the Spanish language and I love the culture. So it's a project for me, but it's really my background started in technology. I got really interested in how virtual currencies could help the world. Probably about 10 years before Bitcoin got started. So in 1999, 2000, I really got interested in the possibility for global currencies that didn't require banks, that could be moved all around the world at low cost, that would free money for everyone around the world and allow us to have a much more international commerce world. So that's a little bit my background, is coming from technology, but really thinking about it from how it would impact people around the world, whether they have bank accounts or they don't have bank accounts, how we could make remittance across borders less expensive. So it's been a passion for me, is working in this. And then when Bitcoin happened in 2009, 2010, 2011, I knew that was the one. This is the basis for an entirely new financial system that can help millions and millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people to be able to control their finances and deliver it around the world. So it's just been a passion of mine. It's turned into a business, which is great, but we still live by that passionate view, which is everybody around the world should have the ability to transact with each other, same the way that the internet works, but really for transactions as well, in a safe, private way, but also, keeping bad guys out as well. That's my passion.
All right. Well, thanks for the introduction, Dave. Maria, let's get right into it. What's the topic today? And let's get started.
Yeah. Well, today the topic is how blockchain analytics can keep digital assets clean, secure, and private. First of all, can you please tell us why you chose this topic? Like, what's important to you?
Yeah, so I think what's important to us is that we want to make sure that there's a balance in the world between government powers on regulation and freedom of the ability to share information and transact around the world. We've seen blockchain type of transactions. So think about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other kinds of coins that you would know about. This has allowed people all around the world to send money back home, to send money to friends and family, to purchase from businesses everywhere globally. It's been an amazing revolution. It's cut costs. It's allowed people to transact without having bank accounts. However, governments around the world are trying to set standards for making it look more like the banking system, making it more expensive, making privacy harder to achieve. And so why we chose this topic was to really educate folks and to expose like what's happening in these different areas, and to show how we've been working with governments and private industry and cryptocurrency companies to make sure that the world that we have in 2020 and 2021 and moving forward is not just dominated by a lot of bureaucrats around the world who don't understand the need for these kind of payment mechanisms and investment mechanisms, and to really mix it together with the privacy concerns, the transaction capabilities. And the other thing I would say is, if you look at cryptocurrencies in 2019, they were about $1 trillion a year in transactions, which is about 7 to 10% of everything that's ever transacted on credit cards last year. So it's really a very important and growing area. And we just wanted to make sure that, this topic got addressed so that people have the visibility that private industry is working with government to try to create a balance that protects everyone's ability to do transactions around the world and keeps things private as need be.
So Dave, so many people are threatened by cryptocurrency, blockchain. Why is that? Is there a major disruption to how things are done now? And what does that look like? Why are some people threatened by this?
Well, Tulio, I think the threat has been people who don't understand it. So if we think about cash, like we can come together and we can share a meal and split the bill or what have you. And that is great, and it's wonderful, and it's important for the world. And the digital cash cryptocurrencies serve a similar capability. And they help the unbanked, they can help billions of people. I think why people are afraid is there have been early reports from 8 years ago of lots of criminal activity. Only bad guys want to use crypto. Only drug dealers want to use crypto. That's never been true. Sure, there's high profile cases, but there's high profile cases of people using banks to launder billions and trillions of dollars, whether it's stolen money, drug money, what have you. So it's gotten immediate attention, which is disproportionate to the usage. So that's one. People are afraid because, the bad guys are using it. Our investigations with crypto analytics shows that less than 1% of cryptocurrencies are used for bad stuff. And that's better than cash. That's probably better than credit cards, and it's better than a lot of banking systems too. And the fact that you can track it, it's like everyone should move on crypto because we have a better analytic platform than you have with banking or credit cards or cash. I think the other reason that people have been wary or dismissive is, sure, it's going to disrupt some industries. There's some pretty big businesses that, for example, specialize in funds transfer from country to country. So think about some of the countries, some of the companies that serve the US to the Mexico market, for example. They're charging very high fees to move those funds every week for people to move money to their families. And crypto can potentially reduce those fees, make it faster and easier. And yeah, they're scared. So that you'll find a few people who are a little worried. I'd say the third one is central banks. So these are the guys like the US Federal Reserve and all of the major central banks around the world. They're worried that crypto and other digital currencies will take over the dollar, the peso, the yen, the euro. Good news is they're starting to wake up, like this is happening. It's going to happen all over the world. This COVID-19 thing is making people realize that exchanging pieces of paper and metal coins with each other, probably not the greatest idea. Maybe we could do it digitally. So things are turning, but I think those are the reasons why people have been afraid.
Interesting.
Speaking about people being afraid of it, you said that government is not that involved in this. Banking institutions are not that involved in this. And I think that gives people a sense of security. What can this type of cryptocurrencies, this process, blockchain, how can they, how can that assure that this is safe, to people?
Yeah. Yeah, Mario, good. It's really that's a great question. What we are finding is with the ability to analyze these cryptocurrencies across the blockchain, we're able to find the bad guys. So these would be drug dealers, money launderers, nation state actors, people trying to steal people's money. And we're able to do it at a very, very, very fine grained level and understand who the bad guys are. In fact, we can do it better than you can with a cash system, an ATM system, or a bank-to-bank payment system. So now, as we've developed those technologies as an industry, so this is blockchain analytics broadly, but cryptocurrency analytics, what we're finding is the banks are getting involved. So we're now seeing major banks who want to bank cryptocurrency companies. We've also seen Visa, the credit card company, start to issue debit cards directly to cryptocurrency companies, which would allow you and I to go to any store or any coffee shop and pay off of crypto with a standard debit card. So this is a huge change in the last 6 months.
Well, I mean, you said 7 to 10% of global transactions are now done on cryptocurrency. I mean, some people would say, well, it's only 7, 10%, but that's pretty big considering it's a fairly new technology, right? Where do you see, so you're seeing more government sort of involved, supporting this, realizing this is happening, let's stop fighting it. You're seeing more banks getting on board with allowing transactions such as the one you just mentioned. Do you see this as becoming, what else can happen? Is this going to be a form of payment for B2B transactions or a form of payment for services? When do you think that might happen?
Well, I think this is all going to take some time. If you look at MasterCard and Visa, that took about 70 years to get to where we are today, 60 or 70 years to get to this ubiquitous access where you can go to almost any restaurant, almost any bar, in fact, many farmers markets, and assume that they're going to take your card. Now, when you tie the card infrastructure to crypto, now nobody has to change anything at their coffee shop or at their restaurant or at their grocery store. You can now pay with crypto through these cards. And that's what we're seeing over the next 12 months. And that's what Visa's doing and other companies. Now, so that gets you broad-based payment without anyone having to change anything. On the B2B side, it's going to take some time, but we do see a huge growth in what we call stablecoin transactions. So these would be not like Bitcoin, but you know how Bitcoin, the price can go up, the price can go down. We invest in it. It changes all the time. It's worth $9,000. It's worth $3,000. It's worth $20,000. It's an investment type of product. The stable coins would be pegged to the dollar, the euro, the peso, the yen, etc. This has had tremendous growth over the last 12 months. So if you look at payment traffic on that, some of the bigger transactional systems are processing $20 billion per day. So that's a B2B type of payment or a financial institution to financial institution. From my side of things, I can only speak for Cyphertrece, which is we take Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin as payment for our enterprise customers. So this is pure B2B business. And we've seen a huge uptick in it. People like it because it's cheaper than sending money across borders. You know that the person received it. You know, you can tell within 20 minutes that your payment was received. We like it as a company because we're not having to deal with the bank and wait for 3 days and percentage change and what's the exchange rate and all this other stuff. So I just think like if we're liking it, how would other people eventually not like it?
I think in the future, it might be a big thing. Right now, I think most of the fear comes from people not knowing how it works. This is kind of a personal question. I'm not really that knowledgeable on that field. Can you explain to us a little bit about actual blockchain? How does it work?
Yeah, and blockchain is very simple. Think about a spreadsheet or something like that you have, which records who owns what money. So name, address, how much money, like a database, but it's distributed around the world, and it's synchronized between every couple of minutes or every 10 minutes. And so the entire world has a ledger that everyone agrees on, which is who owns what money where. And now this allows us to then send money to other people without a central bank involved, without a PayPal, without a MasterCard, without a Visa involved, because within about 10 minutes, you can guarantee that the money has been received and sent. And it's a fundamental innovation that's very simple. It relies on strong cryptography and mathematics, so it's provable, it's highly secure, and there's a massive community around it. So it's kind of like, take the old banking system, which was all the big banks and the old people who've been around for 120 years building banks, and decentralizing it and applying the internet to it. So you got high security, you've got high distributability, you've also got very low transaction costs. Anyone can send to anyone without permissions. And it's just, what's beautiful about it is the software is all open source, meaning that anybody can go look at it, review it, do a security review, and thousands of people around the world, security experts, financial services experts, have reviewed like the Bitcoin source code or the Ethereum source code. And so that nobody's trying to scam you. Like there's not fake banks, there's not a fake payment system. You don't have to trust some centralized service in Belgium who's gonna send your money from one bank to another, which is how it works today in banking. Like all that stuff goes through a centralized system called SWIFT, which is headquartered in Belgium. Great company, but you don't have to do that anymore. The software proves how it works, and it's just taking it back to the people rather than controlled by some central entity that is owned by the banks.
So this is like a white box for the whole community.
Total white box.
Yeah.
You can go look at it. You can choose whether you want to or not, but having thousands of people review it gives you an extreme sense of comfort, because all the other banking systems, no one ever gets to review how those work.
Yeah.
And the banks don't.
And it's complete transparency. So any end user can dig in and mine and identify and test, and there's no need for clearing houses. It's peer-to-peer. It's pure peer-to-peer, and it's open.
Pure peer-to-peer.
Yeah, so it's definitely growing on me, because you're starting to see transaction. And I guess the challenge has always been making it useful, right? In a way that people already doing transactions, right? This idea of being able to use your credit card and tie your crypto account to it is brilliant, because now I don't have to change the way I do day-to-day shopping, right? So, and it really comes back to this idea of like, go and meet your customers where they are instead of having them come to where you are, which is a major disruption. Sometimes that causes markets to take a long time to adopt. In terms of security and analytics, what is your company doing at Cyphertrees? What is the service you're providing to organizations or companies that want to, so what is the value of what you're doing? I guess I'm trying to understand what's the proposition of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so we're providing services into these companies. So they could be banks, they can be credit card companies, they can be cryptocurrency exchanges, they could be trading companies, and they could be government agencies as well, to be able to provide them the ability to make sure that every transaction is safe, that it is not going to terrorists, it's not going to money launderers, it didn't come from drug lords, etc. So it's really an ability to basically score transactions as they come in and as they go out. So it doesn't reveal anything about who the person is. It keeps everything private, but it lets you look at every transaction coming in and say, or going out and say, should I allow that? Should I block it? Should I report on it? Is it dangerous? Is it safe? Where is it going to in the world? So for example, is it going to Eastern Europe? Is it going to South America? Is it going to China? Is it going to Korea? Where's it going? So it gives you that transparency around the entire virtual network without having some big centralized system that everything has to run through. So it protects everyone's privacy, but allows you to do real-time analysis. And this helps you get, as if you're a bank or a payment company, it helps you get like legal compliance. So the governments get off your, they don't chase you like, oh, this is all bad, because you're able to prove like, actually, it's not all bad. Like most of it's really good. It's really safe. It's really cheap. People are really using this product. Yeah, there's some bad stuff, but there's bad stuff everywhere. And by the way, we're able to identify it and stop it and give you a really simple way to track it and stop it. And that's it. And everything else, like make the whole system flow. So it's that integration of, how do you take government regulations, combine it with user privacy, and drive this thing forward. So we've gotten to, in less than 10 years, from nothing, Bitcoin was, 3 people and buying pizzas for, 10,000 Bitcoins, to a world where Bitcoin's at $9,000. People are making $1 trillion a year in transactions. Imagine how this thing will look in 5 to 10 more years. This could potentially be 50% of the transactional activity, especially as you point out, Tulio, I think is really interesting, which is that combination to debit cards and credit cards. You don't have to change the system that's sitting at the grocery store, at the point of sale, at the coffee shop. If you can connect that, and that's what we're trying to do, is create that connection so that you have all the benefits of crypto, but you can still use your card wherever you go.
So essentially, as a user, I can determine the source of my funds. The source could be traditional banking, or the source could be a cryptocurrency account.
Yep.
Now, this begs the question, right? We have based the value, let's just talk about the US for the sake of the argument. We've based the value of our dollar, used to be on the gold, right? Then we transitioned from gold to consumer product, the goods index, or how much our markets are worth. So what would be the value of crypto based? Like let's assume it became a currency, right? What's it going to be based on? The paper of the dollar, or some other value that's interlinked? How do you see that? How does it work right now?
Yeah. So we all got off the gold standard, what's it, 73, 83, 93, 2003, 50 years ago. So money hasn't been tied to the gold standard for 50 years. What money is tied to is what people believe it's worth. What are exchange rates based on? They're based on daily interactive trades by tens of thousands of traders and very smart AI algorithms that figure out trading across the euro, the yen, the dollar, etc. It's all driven by computers and by demand and by people who are making bets. That's how value is created. All monetary value is a consensual hallucination, meaning we think it's worth what it's worth. We think bread is worth $1 today and it's worth $1.10 tomorrow. The other thing we have to recognize is inflation is controlled by central banks, meaning like Venezuela, for example, can deflate their currency massively by printing more and more and more money, which means every day the value of it goes down. So in crypto, it's exactly the same thing. It's worth what people think it's worth. And when people are doing $1 trillion of transactions per year and the market's worth hundreds of billions, it's based on what people think it's worth. And it's no different from the dollar or the euro or anything. And you're going to find out, I think, and we all will, what does $2 trillion of stimulus look like over the last 3.5 months due to COVID? That's going to devalue currencies globally. And the same thing with crypto. It's exactly the same. It functions exactly the same as any foreign exchange market.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like art or antiques, right? The value is based on consensual agreement.
It's not, because it has
I'm oversimplifying.
Yeah, I mean, it has utility value, right? Like I can transact around the world in real time, I can move money everywhere. I can hedge money out of currencies that are deflating or inflating, and it's got utility value.
Yeah. Carlos, I think you have a question from the audience. Welcome to the show, Carlos.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I need to apologize. I was late because of a travel issue, so thank you. So my teammates were warned about this, so I apologize. So yeah, we got a question from the audience and for our guest, David. And the question is from actually one of our guys here internally at MuseTalk, which is one of our beloved Fausto Guerrero from our sales marketing team. So Fausto is asking is asking our guest, and I'm just going to quote him, how can we as mere mortals, quote unquote, as mere mortals can basically enter the world of cryptocurrency? What would you tell those, in layman's terms, how can anyone, as mortals, just get into the world of cryptocurrency and benefit from it, and do something really cool with it?
That's a great question, and it really is the key question, isn't it? There's two ways to do it. So the first one is how we do it at our company, which is we enable people to pay us with crypto. So for example, if we've got customers in Latin America or in Eastern Europe, it's a lot easier for them to send us some Bitcoin than to do a wire transfer. So we work with various companies like BitGo and others. There's a number of companies that let you add that to your website. So let's say you're an internet business selling a product, a physical product or a media product. You can just add cryptocurrency acceptance to your system, and there's vendors who let you do it. And now you're able to take money from a different source. It's not just credit cards for which you're paying 3%. It's not wire transfers, which are super hard to deal with. It just gives you another payment vehicle. So that's the first one. Any internet merchant can take it. Now, let's say you're not an internet merchant and you're just, normal person and you want to participate in it. Your second opportunity is, I would say, investment, which is work with a very well-reputed exchange in your country to create an account. And then you can invest into cryptocurrencies. My recommendation would be start with Bitcoin until you know other things, and put small amounts in and understand the market. You could put $100 in, $50 in, and understand how the market works, see how the pricing moves, and then decide whether you want to put $500 in. So this is available to everyone around the world. There are over 700 cryptocurrency exchanges. There are multiple in every single country in the world except North Korea. And these are companies that you can basically check out their reviews, understand where they are, and then put in very small amounts and get an understanding of how it works and see what the opportunities are.
There you have it.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you for also for your question.
Thank you so much. So it's time to wrap up. Time is already coming to an end. But before we do that, Dave, let's just shift gear a little bit. Tell us a little about what you've learned building this business, lessons personally, things that you've discovered about yourself. What's been like the journey as an entrepreneur in building this business?
I think it's like every single business, which is there are two most important things: your customers and your team, your employees. So there's no new learning here. It's really treat your customers how you want to be treated. Treat your employees how you want to be treated. Those are the main things. And then in this industry, I think it is about innovation, but it's also about community engagement. So in this industry, we do things that don't make us money. So we work with governments to understand what the regulations are and help the world understand it. We don't do that for money. We do that because this is a major economic change in the world. It's a major freedom point in the world for so many people to be able to have liquidity for the unbanked. I mean, we haven't even talked about Africa and the folks who haven't got access to financial services. So we do a lot of that. And I think that's important for companies in these areas where you're leading major potential social change to get involved and not expect some financial return, but expect like a global return around the world and do the right thing.
Sounds great. Dave, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today, and we'll have to have you back again sometime in the future as this market continues to expand and grow, and share whatever new lessons are coming out of that with the rest of us. Don't forget to join us on Monday. We're going to do the recap show. We're going to recap 2 shows this coming Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific. We're going to recap this show, talk about the key points that we've learned, and also the one that we did yesterday with Boulder AI, and talk about what we learned from that show as well. So definitely join us. If you're an audience member who would want to participate in that recap show, just DM any one of us. We will be happy to have you be one of the squares right here on the screen and share your commentary with the rest of us. Carlos, what do we got coming up next week in terms of guests?
Sure, Tulio, thank you. We have 2 guests for next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. And on Tuesday, we're going to be having a conversation with Shannon Becks and Russell Hertzel, the CCO and COO, respectively, co-founders of Books with Z. And we're going to be speaking about the challenges of quality screen time, or does streaming storybooks crack the code? So streaming storybooks, pretty relevant for today's stay-at-home times, especially for mothers with kids and parents with kids. And on Wednesday, we're going to be speaking with Lomit Patel, the Vice President of Growth at IMVU. And we're going to be speaking about Lean AI, or how innovative startups use artificial intelligence to grow. That's Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively, at 1 p.m. Pacific, right here, as ever, on your favorite show, Dojo Live. Thank you.